college football has a problem. And no, I'm not talking about NIL or conference realignment or transfer portal or coaching carousels or paying your players or anything like that. I'm talking about targeting. Targeting has been a very controversial topic for the past few seasons of college football, leading to, like, maybe you could call it ticky tack penalties of a player getting lightly touched in the head, most of the time a quarterback, and then that player getting kicked out of the game and sent to the locker room. I do feel like the NCAA has improved on that front. Whereas if you don't have to go to the locker room, you can still stay on the sidelines. But still, that doesn't mean that the penalty can be any less controversial. And I really saw that this weekend while I was watching the games, because you had plays that are definitely penalties and definitely deserve to be penalties, like when quarterbacks starting their slide and they get hit like mid slide. Of course, that's going to be a penalty 10 times out of 10. You get hit the quarterback in the head while he's going down, it's a penalty, of course. But then you have other penalties where it's involving different players, like a receiver or running back, where both players lower their head and the defensive player is always being punished. I feel like that's very unfair towards a defensive player, because your natural instinct is, when you're running at somebody full speed, is to duck your head to try to take them down. And then when he ducks your head, you're going to duck your head too. So I feel like that sometimes the officials can maybe show a little bit more leniency in making that call, because targeting can really disrupt your entire plan or how you're going to approach the game. Because let's just say this happened in the Texas A&M Notre Dame game. So Riley was it Riley? Was it Riley? Yes, Riley Leonard rolls out of the pocket and he takes off running, and as he's going down, he gets hit. This is Texas A&M is already thin in the secondary, and this is 100% a penalty. Before I say this, but let me just say how this can, like, affect and change your game plan. So like Texas A&M is already thin at safety. Their player goes hits the quarterback and takes out one of his own players in the process. Irrelevant. I just happened to see that on the replay. But of course, there's a penalty. But as you can see, like, this guy's ejected for targeting. Texas A&M is already thin. This is already the second string guy. You can already see that, like, this game is already changed completely by this one little act. And I'm not saying that was a penalty, but that's just like one example of, like, changing not necessarily changing the outcome, but maybe like changing how the game is going to be played. Excuse me. But then we had other games. The Fresno State Michigan game, there was a targeting penalty in that game too. This one is a little bit different because, as I mentioned before, the offensive player ducked his head too, and so did the defensive player. In this circumstance, I don't think this should be a penalty, because, I mean, what are you supposed to do? I'm okay. So, okay. To be honest, Miles Morgan is not running over anybody, but it's just like your natural instinct when somebody ducks your head and they're coming at you to duck your head too. So I don't feel like the defensive player shouldn't always be punished for something that both players are going to do. Now, if the offensive player, like, launched at him and hit him with the crown of the helmet, okay, great. It's a penalty 10 times out of 10, and everybody, you can't be upset for that. But kicking the player out of the game for a penalty or maybe not a penalty, for a play that's kind of caused by both teams and maybe initiated more by the offensive player, is kind of mind-boggling to me. But, like, this play, if it's also worded weird, because, like, it says this 6-inch area is called the crown of the helmet, and if you hit somebody like that, but then that can be very subjective depending on the officials. And as I mentioned before, quarterbacks are more heavily protected, so even if you hit somebody straight up, it can still be a penalty, especially if the quarterback's helmet falls off or he falls down or stuff like that. But then you had other plays that aren't called for some reason. So I guess it could depend on the officiating crew and the player and whether the venue and stuff like that. But I would just like a little bit more consistency from college football and the officials, and maybe a little bit more leniency and, like, understanding to where, if you're, and put yourself in the shoes of the defensive player, because not every time it should be a penalty, and not every time it's just always their fault and they're always initiating the contact. Because sometimes, the offensive player can initiate that, and the running back or running back or wide receiver can initiate that. But 9 times out of 10, or maybe 10 times out of 10, you hit the quarterback late in the head as he's sliding, it should be a penalty every single time. Only a couple of exceptions. But yeah, that was just a quick thought I had about. I noticed while watching the games this weekend. I might have to do like a week 1 recap of the college football. Let me know in the comments. Let me know down in the comments. Yeah. But that's just a little thought I had. I'll see you guys later.